Hi folks, and welcome to Windows in the Cloud, our new tech series dedicated to Windows 365 for IT pros like yourself. I'm your host, Christian Brinkhoff, a feature PM on the Windows 365 engineering team, and we hope you to join us every month right here as we explore new technically focused topics alongside with members from the community, Microsoft engineering, customers, and as well end users like yourself. So our aim is to give you technical insights about the product from the folks that creating, deploying, and using it. So in the next upcoming episode, we have one customer talking about their experiences onboarding to Windows 365 Cloud PC, as well as what is the maintenance experience and how are the end users experiencing Windows 365 Cloud PC after like 2-3 months of production time. So we are very happy to be joined by Microsoft MVP Anoop C Nair on episode number 3, talking about all his tips and tricks about deploying and managing Windows 365 Cloud PC. So welcome Anoop, how are you doing?
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for having me in this show, and I'm very well today, and hoping to have a great evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great too. So I'm here in rainy Seattle area, so a little bit different from your country where it's your evening. It's here early in the morning. So that's what you can achieve with like remoting technology such as Windows 365. Hey, can you share the audience a little bit about yourself and your role? What's your day job and how you became an MVP and such?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Anoop, as Christian already mentioned. I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2015. I'm in this IT field since 20 years, last 20 years. And my day job is basically a solution architect working on various things related to workplace. So that could include device management, VDIs, virtual desktop, Windows 365, all the new things, all the new shiny things which are coming up, right? So,
yeah, that's great. It's great to hear. And what got you excited about like Windows 365 Cloud PC? Because I've seen a lot of articles and presentations coming from you. So can you maybe share a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm really excited about Windows 365 and the end-to-end kind of automatic provisioning process, right? That really excites me from an admin side of it, right? But from an end user side of it, that is really amazing, right? To use Windows 365. It is kind of very useful and frictionless to move from a physical PC to a cloud PC, right? So that really excites me.
We of course hear that more, but it's great to hear it from somebody like you coming from like different technologies in the past and being an MVP. So that makes us as a product team very excited, of course, to hear that kind of feedback. So as AVD IT admin user from the past as well, where do you see the benefits of Windows 365 for customers happening right now in the field?
Yeah, that's really an interesting question, right? So to answer to that, probably I will go back to the digital transformation, which most of the organizations are looking forward, and most of the organizations are already kind of started the journey. But what I'm seeing from the organization side is basically some of the organizations are concentrating only on the user experience from a physical PC side, right? They are not concentrating very much on the virtual desktop or cloud PC kind of a side, right? Virtual experience of an end user, right? So for example, if an end user is using a virtual desktop as a primary device, then how we can kind of improve their experience, right? That is one of the main pillar of digital transformation, which most of the organizations are looking for. I think that is where Windows 365 is coming into picture, right? And to add on to that, for example, I'm throwing out a question to VDI folks or VDI colleagues around the world over here, right? How many of you are using a multi-session, non-persistent use VM as your primary device, right? So I used it a while back, and I don't feel it appealing from an end user perspective, right? From an admin perspective, it is very exciting because a lot of technology is involved, lot of complexity, right? We can play around it, but an end user perspective, I think this is it is bit off, I would say, probably because every morning I need to kind of log in and launch all the applications and arrange it, right? That is going to get take another 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes. So yeah, that is where Windows 365 Cloud PC is coming into play, I think.
And one of those principles of Windows 365 Cloud PC is definitely to deliver the best Windows experience with a personal experience. So just persistence, to talk in VDI terms, without the complexity of VDI, meaning that, yeah, as you said, like physical PC consumers and users can leverage Cloud PC the same way, same experience, without that degradation of end user experience, with that log-on delays perhaps, and every morning you have to log on. So thanks for sharing those insights. I've seen as well that you're very active in the Windows 365 community on social media, right? Can you share a little bit of that, like how that works and what you're doing there?
Yeah, it's great community first of all, and yeah, I'm part of the Windows 365 community, and it really excites me to share my tips and tricks, and to collect all the news from the Windows 365 world around the globe, right, and share it with all the enthusiasts of Windows 365, right? So that is what we are doing with the Windows 365 community, and there are other lot of other contributors like Patrice, Donna, Aaron, a lot of other folks are there officially contributing. Martin, right? And thank you, Christian, to kind of helping us to steer that community.
So what's the URL that folks can visit to see what we're sharing there?
Yeah, so we are available in Twitter as well. You can follow Twitter. That is at the rate W365 community, and our website link is w365community.com. Right, always visit there. We are sharing all the latest news, information, tips and tricks every week as a newsletter. So don't miss that.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a great place to just gather with other community members, and if you have any articles or you just presented something on Windows 365, we can share that on that platform so others can leverage that same kind of knowledge too. And I think that's kind of the power behind the Microsoft MVP program, which we just started for Windows 365. Which you as an end user / IT admin can become one as well. But that platform is as well a good place to start to just get some knowledge from others and learn about blogging and presenting. So yeah, great work by you and the rest of the folks that you just called out as well. It's great fun to do that together. But yeah, I think we talked a little bit enough, I guess. Let's jump in some cool demos and such, what really the topic is about today. So can you show a little bit of your best practices and lessons learned about like your first impression? What do you think that users like IT admins should learn before kicking the tires and such? So can you give us a tour through the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center, for example, on Windows 365?
Yeah, sure thing. So today I'm going to show the Windows 365 Cloud PC enterprise part of it, right? So I'm not going to cover a lot of business edition part, but there would be some tips about business also in the demo, probably if we get enough time, right? So let's go over endpoint.microsoft.com. This is the admin portal, and MEM admin center portal, and this is where all the configuration for Windows 365 lies, right? So you can go into devices over here and navigate through to Windows 365 node over here, where you in the on the first page, right, home page, you would be able to see the provisioning details, how many VMs, how many cloud PCs you have provisioned, right, how many are failed, if there is any, how many are in grace period, etc., etc., right? So let's go into the on-premises network connection, right? So that is the main part of the initial configuration, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a on-prem network connection over here. I'm not going to complete it because as you see, I have already there something, right? So I have already created that. So I 365, and then I'm going to select the subscription, and if you hover over here you would be able to see what are the details, right? What is the exact details you need to put in there, etc., etc., right? And resource group, you should be very careful about the resource group when you create, and I recommend to use a separate resource group for Windows 365 Cloud PC deployments, right? So that is what I learned from my previous AVD experience and with this kind of experience, right? So I already have a Windows 365 resource group. I'm going to use that. Otherwise, if you don't have, and if you have appropriate access, you should have appropriate access, and all the details will be available in the documentation over here. You can go over, learn more, and find more details about that, right? And you can create one if you want, right? New resource group. And the next is a virtual network. This is where you this network helps you to connect from the cloud to your on-prem, right? So what is happening here is we are connecting, or we are creating a visibility between your cloud and on-prem data center or domain controller, basically, right? So you need to select network. For me, I already have a virtual network. I have selected that, right? Once you have a network, you that will show up over here. You should have appropriate access, then only this will show up. Otherwise this drop down won't come, right? So that is one thing, and the other thing is subnet. You need to select the subnet, right? So I think it is better to create a dedicated subnet for Windows 365 to avoid a confusion between the other deployments in the cloud, right? So I have one for this one, right? And click next, and this is where you need to provide all your details about on-prem Active Directory for your hybrid join scenario, right? Over here, same thing, right? Hover over this information button and you will get all the details. This is the UPN you want to put in, right? And you need to put in all these details. All these star marks are mandatory required fields. You cannot go ahead with next if you don't put the details over here, right? So this is the DNS domain name, and this is organizational unit. I think you need to put the organization unit also for arranging the cloud PCs into an OU. So that will help you to manage it better, right? In a hybrid Azure AD join scenario. But in an Azure AD join scenario, which is coming soon into Windows 365, we don't need to worry about that. I'm not going to cover that in this particular demo for now, right? and quickly go through the UPN. This is the domain join username and password, right? So over here you need to put the domain join username, and you should have appropriate access to OU, right? That particular user or service account should have access to OU to add a device into that particular OU. So you should be very careful about that as well, right? And password, domain join service accounts password, you need to put it twice, and you just can go ahead, click next and finish it off, right? So I'm not going to complete this, but what I'm going to show you is over here the existing connection I have. I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see the details over here. These are the details I have already put in, right? And you can see all those details I have put in over here, like the OU details, etc., etc., right? And you can go to overview, and this is the very helpful part from my side. You can see the actual status of the connection between your cloud and on-prem, right? This is very useful in troubleshooting scenarios. For example, if your AAD connect is not working, then probably you might see some warning over there. Then you would be able to troubleshoot, right? Okay, so this is pointing out to the correct direction, right? Rather than not wasting the time around all the other parts, right? So for that is very useful in my experience. Okay, and it is checking the permissions, etc., etc. A lot of details are there, and IP usage details, IP address usage details are also available. When we run a POC, when we normally run a POC, there would be very limited number of IP addresses available in many of the organizations, right? In staging environment and all. Then at that time, this IP address usage is going to be very helpful. So I had some interesting stories about my AVT POC testing and IP address availability and some interesting errors and all, right? So this is very useful. You should look into it, and you should there is an option to retry, and that will get you the correct latest status.
Thanks, Anoop. And just to share with the audience as well, you call it a great piece there. Azure AD Native is just announced during Microsoft Inspire, and it's coming available soon as well for customers. So if you want to get notified about the preview of Azure AD Native, you can go to the link below here and then sign up, and you get a notification when it's available. And we already run it successfully internally, so it's happening pretty soon, and that would release you from bringing any domain controller in or something like that. So go completely Azure AD Native in the near-term future. So.
Yeah, that's great. And most of the organization I've been working with and I've been chatting with, right? They are very excited about Azure AD join kind of scenario, pure Azure AD join kind of a scenario. Yeah, it's great. Let's go ahead and try some provisioning policies, right? How we can create a provisioning policy, and how we can do that, right? So provisioning policy is nothing but how you deploy the cloud PCs, right? So that is what provisioning policy, and the provisioning policy creation is also straightforward, very frictionless, I would say. Just need to provide the name, Windows 365. Right, I'm going to go with the default name I use for all the demos, right? And this is the existing network connection I have, and you have already seen this, and you just need to click on next. And in a real world scenario, probably you might have different network connections. That is also possible, right?
What do you recommend to the audience to do as naming conventions for a provisioning policy? What would be your recommendation for that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right? Because naming the provisioning policies are very important from an end user experience perspective, because that is showing there, that is going to the end user is going to see that in their portal, right? So I think it is very useful, and we should name it appropriately. Like for example, if it's a HR department, you should put HR hyphen something like that, or if your organization is having some naming standards already defined, use those naming standards over here in the provisioning policy. So this is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps you can throw in as well the location name, because the provisioning policy is chained to the location of where the Cloud PC is being created in. So you can then do department and then dash, for example, location name would be a good thing to do as well.
Yeah, yeah. So just click on next and go through the image selection, right? So this is where you are going to select the image for the Cloud PC. So personally, I'm a zero image person, or I don't want to create custom image. That is my personal choice, right? But many organization I have seen custom, they prefer custom image, right? So over here we have two options. One is gallery image, that is created and maintained by Microsoft. We don't have to do anything as a customer, right? So that is first preference for me. I always go ahead and use the gallery image, and if you click on that select link, it will show up all the available images, right? So Windows 11 is the most preferred OS for me at the moment. So I'm going to select that. Otherwise, you can use a search bar over here, and you can search for the image you want, right? And I don't want to cover everything about the image. Like some of the images are coming with all the pre-provisioned application optimized with Teams, etc., right? So this is very optimized image which Microsoft is providing, right? You just need to use it. Okay. And in this scenario, I'm going to select Windows 11 and click on select button, and then you can go ahead and click on next. But before doing that, I just want to select the custom image. If you want to use a custom image, you need to go into Azure portal and create. I'm not sure whether we need to go into Azure portal or not. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, we need to go into Azure portal and create a custom image. Then only the custom image option will appear, or custom images will appear over here, right? Okay, so let's select Windows 11 and then click next. And then this is important, right? Over here, you are going to add Azure AD user group, where all those users should have appropriate Cloud PC or Windows 365 license. If the users doesn't don't have license or not assigned to license, then the provisioning is not going to happen, right? So you need to be very careful about that. And if you are assigning a user 3 Cloud PCs and only 2 licenses are there, then probably only 2 Cloud PCs will get provision. So you cannot expect all the 3 Cloud PCs will get provision, and that is not going to happen, right? So this is what where we will add the Azure AD group, user group, basically. And I don't want to just show that now. So this is the group I normally use. These the users in this group has valid licenses, right? So just need to click select and click next, and that is going to provision the Cloud PC. So when I click create button, it is going to create a new a policy over here, and it will start provisioning the Cloud PCs. Okay.
So can you show the audience as well how you can publish an application to the Cloud PC, for example?
Yeah, that's a great segue. Let's do that. MEM Admin Center portal. You can see apps tab over here. That is where all the apps related workflow lives. Right? So normally what I do is I go to apps, I click on apps, and then I filter it with platform, right? That is Windows. So I'm going to click on Windows, and that is going to show me Windows apps. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a couple of app types, right? No, in this particular scenario, if you click on app types drop down, you would be able to see two special application types. One is line of business application, the other one is Windows app. So we are going to see both in this particular scenario. So let's see line of business application first. This is called LOB app, and this is where you can deploy. In if you look at the screen itself, you can see you can deploy MSI, APPX, MSIX, and all those kind of applications. So this is basically for simple application deployment from MEM side or from a modern management side. If you want to deploy a simple application, it is better to use this particular workflow line of business application, right? So let's see how that works. Then we will move to the complex side of the application deployment, similar to configuration manager, application deployment, etc. Right? So let's click select, and over here there's a link over here, and you need to click on that link to upload a particular MSI file, right? So the thing in this particular app type is basically you can select only, you can upload or you can deploy only one MSI file. If there is any dependency files or if there is any MST files, you should use the complex model, which I am going to share in a bit, right? So this is the 7-zip application. So this is an MSI application, so you can use it directly, right? And it has only one particular file. So this is the perfect suit for the LOB application from MEM side of it, right? So click OK. You can see all the details of that MSI application here, all the size and the platform and name of the MSI, etc., etc. Right? Click OK, and then you need to kind of fill in, and you need to, if you have a naming standard followed in your organization, you need to follow that over here. I normally do something like this, right? Versions 2.0 or something like that. And if you want to edit the description and you want to add some valuable comments for your co-admins, this is very useful, right? Edit description, and it is very rich, right? You can see you can do some bold items over here, and the menu is here itself. You can use this menu, help menu, and you can add bold, etc., over here, right? And publisher is another important thing you need to fill in over here. So I'm going to, okay, that should be 7, not okay. So, and quickly, if I go down, there's an option to select the image. So this is the logo for company portal, right? If you are making this application as an available application for the end users, then logo makes much sense, right? From an end user experience perspective, right? So I normally recommend to upload logo of the application. So I normally create a source file folder and then logo inside that folder itself, so that it would be useful, right? And I'm clicking on OK, and there are some requirements, like the size should be like this, and the maximum size of the image should be like this, etc. So all these are available in the information button itself, right? Click on next, and over here you are going to define some of the Intune RBAC role based administration kind of settings, right? Scope tags, etc. I'm going to skip this for now, and over here you are going to decide whether it is going to be a mandatory or required application. Without any user interaction, it will get deployed to Cloud PC or Windows 365 PC, or you want user to go into company portal and install it whenever they need it, right? So it is your organization's decision how to do it. But for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to a user as an available application. So HDMD user, this is the Azure AD user group which I use for the provisioning policies also. So for my lab environment, I'm using this to deploy the application to the users, right? So just click next, and there's one more important thing over here in the assignment over here. So you can add filter rules. Probably we'll cover filter rules in a bit, right, in more details. But over here also you can add filter rules if you want, right? Click next, and then you are just creating the application. So this is the simplest application creation model, that is called LOB application, and you can see the application is already kind of created and upload. It's not uploaded, it says it is going to. Okay, now it's finished uploading it to the Intune services. So now it will be available for the users immediately. Okay, that is the LOB application. Now probably we are going to go ahead and show some I'm going to go ahead and show some complex application deployment from a MEM Intune side for the Cloud PC deployments, right? So I have selected Windows app Win32 Win32 application type. This is managed by a special agent which will automatically get installed on Windows 10 and Windows 11 devices, right? And that agent is handling this type of application deployment. So this is for more complex deployments, like if you have a set of files which you want to deploy, and if you have MSTs, for example, along with MSIs, then you need to use this kind of deployment application type, right? Select that, and this link is same. The over here, if you select, you need to remember, you need to have a special format in this particular application type. Whenever you use this particular application type, you cannot directly select an MSI file. Over here you would be able to see there's a format, Intune Win format. That is the application type you need to select. So don't worry, you don't need any packaging skills to make this application. It is just a command prompt tool which you need to kind of run from the command prompt, and you need to provide the source path, right? I have already created a Intune Win format application for Fiddler, right? And you just need to provide the source location, and then the exe or whatever command you want to run, right? It can be a CMD or batch file, right? And then you need to provide this output location or the package location where the package will be stored. Intune Win format package will be stored, and it is very straightforward. There is no complexity. As I mentioned, there is no need of packaging skills. It's just a zipping of the source files, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go to my Win32 app folder and going to go into the fiddler folder, and I have structured this folder in a way, source and intune package, so that it is easy, and I have an icon folder also, right? So I'm going to go in here and select my already created Intune Win file and click on OK, and you would be able to see all the details similar to MSI application in the previous example, right? Click on OK, and over here also you need to provide appropriate names for this application, right? Probably some of the vendors do well in the naming standards. Some of them are not very good in following the naming standards. So it's better to use your own naming standards if you have some specific naming standards for your organization, right? And I'm not going to cover the entire part because this is um, similar to the LOB application. The workflow is similar, right? You can select the image logo if you want. I'm going to skip that in the interest of time for now, okay? And click OK. This is important part, right? Over here, first thing is you can see lot of workflow additions over here. That is why I mentioned it is complex application deployment. It is for complex type of application, similar to configuration manager application deployment type, right?
So, hey Anoop, great demo. Sorry to break in and interrupt you here, but can we show as well some of the policy managements and things around like how to manage your application as well to move forward and show the audience that how they can do that?
Let's go back to devices and probably directly filter into Windows and then go into configuration profiles. That is where you are going to create all the policies, right? Click on create profile and you are going to you have to select Windows 10 or later. My recommendation would be always look for settings catalog, right? That is the place you should look to get the latest policies and click on create and put some name, right, for 365, Windows 365, and click next, where you would be able to see our add settings button. And over here there's a settings picker search menu, and over here you would be able to search with something interesting for a cloud PC perspective, right? I'm going to search with some redirection policies. So you can see over here, there is a redirection policy. There are a lot of redirection policies over here, and it is pretty easy to select one and go over it, enable it, etc., right? And the deployment is similar to the other deployment flows or assignment flows within MEM portal.
Here, so this is great, Anoop, and here's where IT admins can configure their Windows environment, whether it's a physical or a cloud PC, right?
Yep.
So can you switch gears and talk a little bit more about your security best practices? Like what do you advise to the audience here to configure in terms of securing the cloud PC?
Yeah, that's a good segue. So let's go into the endpoint security and show them what they have ready to use, right? The best one thing over here is security baseline, right? So security baseline is a set of policies which is provided by Microsoft product team, tested and approved by them, and they for example, you can see over here Windows 365 security baseline, right? And if you click on that, you would be able to see all the recommended policies available from Microsoft recommended policies, right? So if you click on create profile, you need to kind of go through the same flow, right? Which we have followed for other workflows, right? You can select enable, disable. You can pick and choose each and every configuration, but by default, this is the recommended policy set of policies with the configuration recommended by Microsoft product team, I would say. So this is the best place to go into and check the security policies if you are new to MEM and admin center, etc., right?
Yeah, this is great and includes all kinds of baseline settings to just configure as a profile and then have like that ensure security level in place for your cloud PCs. So do you recommend the audience as well to use Defender for Endpoint as a security suite service as part of Cloud PC?
Yeah, I think that is a good option for all the customers over there, because I have seen in my experience there are lot of other vendors available, but there are some compatibility issues and version issues and those kind of things, right? So we can avoid that kind of a friction if we use this kind of a solution, right?
Yeah, it's all to simplify the management with like Cloud PC, Windows 365, and as well MEM, of course, for physical PCs, mobile devices. So Defender really streamlines like one antivirus solution for different like endpoint scenarios you have. So what about like conditional access, MFA, and things to secure and consolidate access to your Cloud PC?
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. And over here, you would be able to see like a conditional access node over here. And if you click on that, you would be able to see the option to create conditional access policies, right? So for this quick demo, I have already kind of created Windows 365 conditional access policy, and I have already tested it, and it's kind of working. So you just need to create deploy to a user group, right? Over here you would be able to see I'm using the same user group, Azure AD user group. And this is important, right? You need Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows Virtual Desktop if you are using RD client, right? Otherwise, if you are using Windows 365 web portal, then you just need Windows 365 application in this cloud app scenario, right? So just really quickly going into the conditions, where the conditions are over here. You can configure the conditions if you want. I'm just quickly moving to the grant option, access control options, right? Over here, you would be able to see a multi-factor authentication, right? This is where MFA configuration is available, and it's just a click of button, right? And you don't need to build any MFA server, etc., right? Infrastructure. It's just a click of button. That is the advantage of using Windows 365 Cloud PC and Azure AD integration, etc.
This is great, and definitely a good like set of best practices for the audience to secure the access to their Cloud PC environment. So security is very important, but like user experience and monitoring as well, right? So can you show real quick how you can monitor and proactively monitor as well the Windows 365 Cloud PC environment?
So let's go on to the report section over here, reports node over here, and show some magic from the monitoring side of it, right? So go over here to endpoint analytics, click on that endpoint analytics. You would be able to see all the different kind of startup performance, proactive remediation, etc. I just want to concentrate on Windows 11 upgrade scenarios over here. So if you go into work from anywhere tab over here and go into Windows, you would be able to see different options over here, different cloud PCs over here. So I got a lot of cloud PCs, right? I think five cloud PCs, and some of the statuses are unknown, and some are capable for Windows 11 upgrade. So the reporting stuff is very useful, and the capability is it is capable. This particular cloud PC is ready to upgrade to Windows 11, right? And some of the cloud PCs you can see over here. This one as an example, it's not capable because I built a long back, right? Before Windows 11 went into production scenario, I built before that. That is why it shows TPM system firmware is not compatible. That is why it is not capable to upgrade, right? And some of them are.
So great, Anoop. So can you show as well the audience a little bit about the insights of the performance inside the Cloud PC, like CPU, RAM, utilization and such?
Yep, sure thing. So let's go over the startup performance and probably click on one of the cloud PCs I have over here, right? Click on that to see what are the insight information we have over here. So this is the boot history. It shows up, and all the other sign-in history details are here, and all the other details are available here in this particular thing, right? So that is very useful, I think.
So can you show the final end result after your configuration? So log on to the end user portal and see if MFA is working and the Cloud PC is showing up.
Yeah, that's great segue. Let's do that. So let's go into the another tab and probably log into windows365.microsoft.com, where all the magic happens, right? So let's go in here, and I'm going to log in with my username, end username, and I'm getting a prompt in Azure app, right, authentication app, and I'm going to try to sign in, approve that, right? So that's it, right? MFA works fine, and this is the secured Windows 365 PC, right? I have provisioned two PCs, two cloud PCs, and I can just click on open browser and launch the cloud PC. Right?
Great knowledge as well that you just shared with the audience here. So thank you for doing that. So let's make an appointment perhaps to come back at some point and share your new experiences along the way as well with the audience. So before we wrap up, how can people stay in touch with you on social media and such?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm available in Twitter and very active there. At the rate Anoop Mannoor, that is my handler. So yeah, that's it. And probably I have a website, and anoopcnair.com. So you can go over there and have some reading.
Okay, thanks Anoop, and thanks for being my third guest and the first Microsoft MVP guest as well. So hoping to have more MVPs soon joining in the future episode as well. So, and thank you, of course, for watching again to Windows in the Cloud episode number 3. So make sure to follow us on ak.ms/Windows in the Cloud, and as well my own social channel at @Brinkhoff_C. So we hope to see you next time. So thank you for watching.